everyone, and thank you very much for joining me. Welcome to my coloring corner. Today is Tips and Tricks Tuesday, and we're going to continue. I do apologize. Alexa has decided that she wants to talk too. Today we're going to continue with our picture and dealing with small light sources and that sort of thing. So I got the picture. I cut it out of the book because I'm going to be turning it and stuff like that, and it drives me crazy to turn it in the book. And of course, I've got the Starjoy color pencils, which we have been using on this page. And I'm actually going to be turning on that relaxing music that I've been working with, coloring with, so that you guys don't hear me breathing heavily, or there's no dead spots when I'm trying to color something and that sort of thing. And of course, I'm going to switch you over to the close-up camera. There we go. Now we can see what we're doing. So we're going to work on these flowers as well as the wood here for that sort of thing. So let's grab some wooden colors here. Now this is back away from the candle, and this is right into the candle area. So this area here is going to be lighter than this area here. So I'm just going to grab some browns here. And of course it would be smart for me to have my color chart out. But do you think I'm that smart? No. I put it away. Because that's what I do. I keep them all in a book. And I put it away because I cleaned up my desk. So let's pull that out. And luckily I was able just to pop it right open right to the right page, which is cool. Alright. Let's make sure I get the right pages here. There we go. So I've got my color swatches. Teach me to try to be, all ready for you guys. So let's take a look here. We want some browns. So let's grab brown ochre, which should be in this one here. Could be in this one here. Let's see. Yeah, there's cinnamon. So this one here will be brown ochre, which is number 103. And then we're going to grab burnt ochre, which is this one, which is 105. And we're going to grab yellow ochre, preferably not yellow ochre light, just yellow ochre. That's terracotta. That's too... Oh, terracotta might work too. I think yellow ochre will work the best. Okay, which is number 14. So we're going to work with these colors for those branches. Of course, we've got to sharpen them up because they're dull from doing this roof line and stuff like that. I'm going to shake you up a little bit. I hope everybody is having a wonderful day and have enjoyed the weekend. I know it's only Tuesday, and I want to let you know that we do have contact with our winner from the start of our classes here, and I have sent her books out to her. She should be getting them very shortly, and hopefully she enjoys them. I don't have any tracking information on them, so unfortunately. Okay, so let's take our darkest one, which I do believe is burnt ochre. Yes. And we're going to take our burnt ochre and go into this area here. I'm going to turn that light on just a touch. Sorry about that. just so I can see what I'm doing. And I'm going to do the shadow areas. The deeper shadow areas, because this will get hit with some light, but not a lot of it. We started with the walnut brown on the deeper shadow areas and the gray when we put in those shadows, which gives us a really good starting point for darkness. And now we're going to take the brown ochre and we're just going to extend that out. In this area here, I'm just going to put it all the way down. I'm not doing it really hard, just enough that the color is there, and then I'll go over it with that yellow ochre just to give it that wood color and a little bit of the light. This area here, I'm just going to go right over top of it with a medium hand, because not much light is going to hit this because of the flowers. This area here I need to darken up a little bit too. I'm just going to extend that out, go into these areas here that are going to be darker. Now everything on the back side of this, on the upper side, is going to be darker than the lower side. So just bring your dark edges up to where the light's going to hit it the most. And then you can bring your other colors in. Now I used the wrong pencil for that, so I'm just going to go over it a little bit with the dark burnt umber, or burnt ochre, sorry. I think that's what it is. Yeah, burnt ochre. Make sure that you get this crevice here nice and dark, because the light isn't going to hit that area. Excuse me, sorry about that. Suddenly ended up with a frog in my throat. Now I'm just doing a very, very light layer of the brown ochre, but I'm not touching the very bottom of the line there, because we want that to have the light of the candle on it, and the yellow ochre will give us that bright light area. Okay. Now we're going to start at the top here, and then we'll work our way around. And since we already have the browns in our hand here, so let's start way over here with our burnt ochre. And of course this area is going to be darker because it's further away from the candle. Now we're going to have the brightest light here, but then we'll have the ambient light, which is a lighter light that goes out further. So make sure that you keep that in mind as you're coloring. What areas are going to be touched with that ambient light? And in my brain, this whole little branch here isn't going to get touched a whole lot, but I'm going to still put in a bit of that yellow ochre here on the very, very edge of this area there. Now this one here is going to get touched by it, so we're going to make sure that we put in our darkest areas here, furthest away from the light. And of course under the bud. You can deepen the V of that branch a little bit. Same with this V. And just deepen it a little bit. And then we're going to take our brown ochre and extend that a bit. I hope that you are all enjoying these little 101 classes or videos. I have a lot of different things that I use and do in my coloring that I enjoy, and of course this is just the basics. You know what, I think I want a bit of green in that as well. So let's take a look at our greens. I think I want a little bit of olive yellow. Where are you? There we are. So I'm going to add a bit of this olive yellow to here as well. I need to give it a sharpen. It's a little too dull for what I want to do with it. Just where the buds are coming in and where the plant is giving off to the buds, because that's usually the newest part of the plant. So we want to give it a bit of green in those areas. You know, these little nubs are usually this one here looks like it was cut, but these little nubs here look like they're part of the new growth. I know I'm overthinking it, but sometimes you just got to give it a little bit of a extra bit there just to make sure that you're getting the reality of it showing through. I know this is a colored page, but it doesn't mean you can't make it look, you know, fairly realistic in your color choices and your shadow choices and all those fun things. Now this part of the plant, of course, is on the back side, so it's going to be fairly dark. This area down here is going to be lighter. This area here is going to be a bit lighter, but it's still going to be shadowed quite well because of the flowers, as well as the fact that it's further away from the light. So make sure that you put in your shadows in those areas. Now I'm going to be a medium hand here and cover up a lot of that area. And then of course I'll go over it with the yellow ochre and brighten up a couple of areas of it. Now I didn't go all the way down because I want some areas to be a little bit brighter than others. And that one there, we're just going to take a straight brown ochre. Now this area here is quite a bit further away from the light source, so it's definitely going to be a lot darker. Just doing the little new growth nub and the shadows. Oh, got the wrong one. Grabbed the wrong pencil. Now, I don't know how many of you do it, but when I have a color combination in my head and I grab out those colors, I keep them in my hand. With some pencils you can do that, and at some points of the year you can do that. However, I have found that if I do that in the summer, my pencils melt. The core of my pencils get too warm. So if you are a hot-handed person, and I say this because my husband is very hot-handed, like it doesn't matter what temperature he is, his hands are always really warm. So if you are a hot-handed person, make sure that you take your pencils out of your hand. Put them in a jar on the desk or something. Otherwise, you're going to end up with really soft cores on hard pencils where you expect them to be hard and then you go mush. And I know I should have my brush out because I just wiped that off with my hand. I'm terrible. Okay, same with up here. Up here and down here are going to be the darkest areas because of the fact that there's absolutely very little light hitting this area at all from that ambient light. Now, I'm only coloring from this light itself. I'm not using any other light source. In this kind of situation at night, you will probably have an exterior light source such as the moon or the clouds or things like that. I'm not going to incorporate those in there because it's really confusing once you start adding extra things such as the moon, the clouds, the stars, that sort of thing. So I'm not even going to add those. We're not even going to talk about them. So, don't take that thought into consideration while I'm coloring this, because to me, and the fact that I've been doing this for a while, not a huge amount of time, but a long enough time to have a little bit of insight on it. These ones here that are sticking up would be hit by the moonlight. So there'd be a different light source hitting these edges. So instead of yellow, I would do them in a white glow from the moon or the stars. But we're not even going to consider that there is the possibility of that light source. So just completely ignore that. There's no moon tonight and there's no stars. It's just pure blackness out there. Just so you know. And that does happen. We do have those nights every once in a while. I'll make sure that I put in some green for the buds and for the new growth. And this is olive yellow. So it's a bit of a yellowy browny green color. Then we're going to go in with a medium hand with the brown ochre. Now if you find that this is not quite dark enough for your shadows, because it is all the same color, just different tones, you can definitely grab, say, walnut, and go in and add more to your shadows, or you can just go with a little bit heavier hand on the burnt ochre. I don't know why my mouth just wants to call it ochre. It's ochre. And as you can see, I'm just using a bit heavier of a hand and bringing those shadows out a little bit further. But I do want to show you what the difference is between the walnut and that sort of thing. The walnut brown is a little bit redder, but it is also darker. So it's got a little bit more red in it, a little bit more black in it. So it does stand out a little bit more on those branches. And then we're going to take our, what color is this? Burnt umber. Is another one that you can use to darken that up a bit. So if you're not happy with the darkness, like this one here, I'm not happy with that darkness at all, or the different color, because we haven't killed the tooth of the paper by putting too heavy of a layer on to begin with, we can go back in and add little bits of color to darken that down a bit. Once you start using a heavier hand or put too many layers on, you may find that no matter what color you put on top of it, it's just not going to put any color down. And that's just because there's no paper there to grab it. You know, when you drop that tooth down too much, you lose the ability for the paper to grab hold of that color. And that's why it's very important sometimes just to be patient. And it took me a long time to learn to be patient with my pencils. When I first started coloring, I would use markers more often because I didn't have to be patient with them. Now I use colored pencils a lot more because I've learned that you get the best results when you can be patient with it. And now I'm going to grab that burnt umber and we're just going to put it in here in between these flowers for the stick branch, the piece of wood. And as you can tell, in these areas I'm not putting any of that yellow ochre at all, because it's not going to be connected with any light. The hive house is going to break that light away. So all of this area here is going to have next to zero light at all. It's going to have a small amount of ambient light, but it's not really going to reach in past the flowers to your branch. So this is where I'm going to start using that darker burnt umber color a lot more, and using the burnt ochre instead of the yellow ochre and the brown ochre. Now, you can add other colors, of course. There's several different color combinations you can do for wood. I'm just using it the most simplistic one, just so that we can get a better understanding of the light colors and that sort of thing. I will do a tutorial on how to color wood grain and that sort of thing at a later date. That might be one of our next ones that we'll look at, is wood grain, and then maybe even fur. Fur is a hard one for me. I'm not very fantastic with fur myself, so. I'm really good as long as, the artist is giving us hints. We're also going to color in the grayscale book, and I think that will be the next one, is how to do grayscale. And I will choose a grayscale picture out of the coloring book that I just gave away that has some wood grains in it and has some, well, it's got animals in it, so I'll make sure that it has some fur areas in it so that I can show you better of what you're looking for when you color fur. And then we can transfer some of that information onto a line art. And now again, make sure that you put in your little bit of wood areas there. Now we're getting back into an area where that light, that ambient light, is going to start hitting it again. So make sure that you lighten up on your colors for this side of it. This area down here is still going to stay dark. Grab the wrong one. So I'm just putting in that shadow. And we're going to grab our burnt ochre or brown ochre and just fill that in. I'm not going to use any of the yellow on that one, but we will be using a little bit of it on this one. So we're going to use our brown ochre instead of our burnt ochre. And then we'll be going over that with some yellow, just to give it that bit of light coloring. This area down here isn't going to get any. We'll extend that V in the branch a little bit. Same with this V. I'm going to extend that. And, oh, Paige has decided that it's going to be stuck to the mat here. I am a page turner. I'm really sorry, guys. I also am trying to turn the page so that you guys are still in the picture. So that you're not having to crane your head sideways or something to see what I'm doing. Of course, we're going to do the buds with this olive yellow. And then we're going to take our brown ochre and we're just going to go in. Now, for some reason, I don't know why, but with browns and that sort of thing, my camera picks up the reds in the brown and amplifies them. That's the word I'm looking for. So it may look very red on camera, but it's not as red as it looks once you add all the other colors in. I don't know why my camera does that, but it does. And then we're going to grab the burnt umber. Okay, almost done. This reminds me that I like the way cherry trees and plum trees bloom before their leaves come out. It's really kind of cool. Okay, so now we're going to do the burnt umber for our shadows. Just got to remember where your light is coming from, so we're not going to get a lot of light down here because it's blocked by the bee. But we are still going to get a little bit, so we're just going to use our burnt ochre. Fill that in, and then we'll go over it with our yellow. I'm using the burnt ochre because it's a darker color. So when I go over it with the yellow, it's just going to show a hint of that yellow, not a lot of it. Okay. I'm just going over the edges that are facing the light. Like I said, these aren't going to be extremely bright because of the fact that there's the bee in the way. Okay, so that is our branches for now. And of course, like I said, as long as you haven't put too much pressure on, you should be able to go back and make any adjustments that you need to make and intensify your shadows, bring out some more light, that sort of thing. Sorry, I needed some coffee. My throat was really dry suddenly. So we're going to grab some pinks. Let's make sure I've grabbed the right pinks, because I need a dark, a medium, and a light pink. So I need rose, bengal, there's rose, is this one bengal? No, that's grenadine. Oh, there's bengal rose light. There we go. So we need this one. We need this one. And we need a really bright one. I think we just need, oh, it's this one. This one. And then we need a really light yellow. So let's grab our light yellow. So Naples yellow light. And then we're going to grab primrose yellow. And then we're going to grab white. So those are the colors we're going to use for our flowers, as well as, you know, of course green, but we'll get to the green in a bit here. So with these ones here, these ones are buds. So let's first start with the deepest color down here at the very, very bottom. And of course, this back side of it is going to be more shadowed than this front side of it. So you want your deepest colors there. We're just going to blend it together with a bit of white. Now on this side, I want to actually take the eraser to it for a second, because I put a little bit too much of the dark down in an area that's going to have yellow. So make sure that your yellow isn't where your pink isn't where your yellow is going to go. So we're going to take, because this is further away and it's blocked by the bee, we're going to take the lightest yellow. And we're just going to put a little bit of yellow around the edges. Now that's really hard to see. Maybe I need to amp that yellow up a little bit, because that's really hard to see. I think it's all right. I'm going to amp it up a little bit. Is that better? You guys see that? Well, it's a little bit better to me. I don't know if you guys can see it though. Let's see. See if I can move you in a bit. Let's do this. Yeah, I can move you in quite a bit. There we go. So as you can see, I've given the outer side a little bit of glow there, and then brought that yellow to the inner side. And I'm going to sharpen this and see if it's possible that I just need to sharpen. I might actually need to use a brighter yellow. For these. Because I don't want to use a really heavy hand on it, and that's what I seem to need to do to get that color that I want. don't really want a cream yellow, so we'll use light yellow instead. We'll use the two really pale yellows for the as we for the progression out, for the gradients of the light. Okay, so as you can see, I'm not taking this pink all the way down. I'm just taking it down to where the yellow starts. And then we will use a bit of white to blend it all in. And this one here, because the bee is there, this one here is going to be quite a bit darker because we're not going to add any yellow to it. I think I grabbed the wrong pink. Now this should be lighter. Did I grab the wrong pink? Grabbed rose pink and Bengal rose deep. Maybe I need opera pink. Maybe that one's lighter. That's grenadine. What about grenadine light? Where is that? It's a little bit rosier. I think I need opera rose instead of this rose light, because that's a little bit darker than I want. It's a little bit brighter of a pink than I want, if that makes sense. So I sharpen that up. So as we move further away from the light source, like this one here will have a little bit on the edges, but all of these back here won't have any at all. So as we move further and further away from the light source, the darker the flowers are going to get. So we're going to go in at the edge of the flower. And we're going to color this edge here as well for the curvature of the flower. And then we're going to fill that in and just blend it around. Then we'll take our white and we'll just blend that in. Don't worry about going over these little nibbies. We'll go over those later and brighten them up. So this one here is also further away. So this one's going to be darker. Now the reason why I'm doing these areas here is because the flower petals have a bit of a curl in them, and those curls are going to be lighter than the rest of the center of the flower, because there's still some light hitting it, just not enough. There's some ambient light hitting it, Not enough to put a glow on it, but enough to show that there's a light source coming from this way. Not enough to put the yellow on it, put the actual light glow on it. Okay, so now these ones here have a bit of that yellow coming onto it, and we determined that light yellow was the better one, didn't we? So we're just going to take the light yellow and we're just going to add a little bit to the edges of these flower petals here for those areas that are going to get touched by the light. It's not going to get touched a lot, so it's not like the ones here where the light is taking over some of the flower. So it's not going to be like these ones here, but it's still going to get touched by that light. Down here is still going to be dark. But we're not going to go up in deep into the top area with that dark because the light is there. Then we'll take our light pink and we'll just go into the light a bit and bring those together. Same with this one here. This back side here is going to be darker, so I'm just going to come around and do the edges here. But the rest is going to be lighter. And we've got the yellow there, so we're just going to blend up into it. Then we will take our little bit of yellow and do the center. Now this one here is also further away, but it's a little bit different because that's the back side, the underneath of the flower petals, and that's the inside of the flower petals. So of course these ones are going to block any light coming from these ones, so it's going to be a little bit different when you're coloring it. So make sure that you're coloring it as if this is the back side of your petal. And this is the inside of your petal. Now because it's the inside of the petal, it's going to be darker. Than the back side of the petal. because of the shadows. Okay. And this part here, of course, is the little center, so we will not color that pink. And I forgot where I was away from the light source, so didn't put quite enough dark in there, so we're just going to cover that up a little bit with some dark. Like I said, just you can use your lighter pencil to blend those two colors together, or you can use your white pencil. The white pencil does dull down the color a little bit, of course, because you're using, adding white, which is, I'm going to make it lighter. Now, I'm not going to color all of these flowers because it's going to take a while, and I want to move on from them. However, I will go from here into the ones that are close to the lantern, and then we'll do a couple back here of the ones that are further away from the lantern, so you get a better idea of what we're looking at. Now this area right down here is getting kissed by that light just a little bit, so we're just going to add a little tiny bit of yellow to that. Now this one here is closer to that lantern. Make sure that we have all of our smuts taken off of it. And I know we've been doing this for almost an hour now, so we've got to put a bit of yellow in here for our little doodad. And then this one here, we're going to actually put quite a bit of yellow in for that light, because that light is hitting all of those curves of this flower here. Can't believe it's already been an hour. Where does the time go? Did I muck around with something for a while or something? But I will try to get all of the information out about the flowers. and I will probably continue coloring the flowers tomorrow on Work in Progress Wednesday, just to get the floral part of this picture done up, so that next Tuesday we can move on to um, something else, because there is a lot of flowers that we're having to deal with here. So I will color some of those off screen or during Work in Progress Wednesday tomorrow, so that when we come back to tips and tricks, we can finish this picture off. Because if I take care of the flowers and get that all done up before the next stream, then we can just concentrate on the bee and the background, and then we will be all done on this picture. And I know you guys probably want to move on from this picture. It's cute and all, but the reason why I chose it is because there's so many different things that you can learn from it, and it's cute. I know. There's different, and everybody colors differently. So I'm not saying that the way anybody colors is wrong. I may be coloring wrong. I don't know. This is just the way I color, and how I think while I'm coloring. You know, I didn't when I first started. When I first started, that's a pink flower, so that's the color we're going to color it, is pink. It doesn't matter that there's different shades or tones or, nope, it's a pink flower and that's what color we're going to color it. It didn't matter that there was a light source there or anything like that. I put a little bit around the area there and called it good. And that's just the way I colored. It's not the wrong way to color or anything like that. It's just the way that I felt comfortable in coloring, because I hadn't done it in so long. So don't feel bad if you color that way, because it's perfectly fine. Whatever makes you happy is the perfect way for you to color. If you find looking at the shadows and looking at the light sources and all that fun stuff that I find fun stuff extremely daunting or stressful, then don't worry about it. Just color it. Just put your stamp on it. Just put how you see it on the page. If I had to draw it, I'd be hooped, because I can't draw whatsoever. But after 3 years of watching videos and talking to people that color, and different little things that I've learned along the way with my own experimentation, I find it a lot easier to figure these things out. Now this one here, I'm going to skip because it's pretty much the same as this one. And same with, well, I might do this one. Yeah, I might do this. Well, this one here is pretty much the same as this one. Make sure that you do a darker area inside of the flower, because that's the inside. However, this area here is going to get touched by the brighter light source. Remember where your light source is, where your light circle is. So this is going to get hit with a brighter yellow color than this area here. Same with this area here. It's going to get caught with a little bit more brightness than this area here, and that sort of thing. So I'm going to show you how I do one of the darker ones, and we're going to actually switch colors here because we're moving into a darker area. Now this one here is right behind the beehive. Where is it? There we go. Move you over here so you can see what I'm doing. So this one here is completely blocked of all light. So this one here is going to be a completely different color than the rest of them because there is no light hitting it. So we're going to take our deeper pink color, which is purple light. And we're going to color that in for our darkest areas. Now most of this is going to be a dark area, but we're going to make it close to the same coloring as the other ones, just a little bit darker by going over it with the lighter pink. So we're going to color the entire flower. We're just going to color the inside of the petal a little bit lighter than the outside. The outside we're going to use a heavier hand. And we're going to color the inside a little bit lighter. Now another thing that you can do so that you keep your colors close to the same and don't have to, grab a new color is, of course, you can go over it with a very heavy hand. The reason why I'm doing it this way is so that we can layer those colors in and not have to kill the tooth of the paper, so that we can keep management on all those colors. So if you just want to do it with your pinks, absolutely you can do that. Like I said, all you need to do is use a heavier hand. You don't need to layer that color if you don't want to. However, you got to remember that as soon as you use that heavy hand, your tooth is going to be gone out of your paper. And once you do that, then there's very little way to get that back beyond adding a bit of fixative to it. Now, of course, you can spray a fixative on it, and add a workable fixative on it, and add a little bit more tooth, but it's not guaranteed. Sometimes it just makes it glossy and doesn't add anything at all. Depends upon how much tooth you have left. It says it's a workable fixative, but sometimes I find if I've really killed the paper, it doesn't help. Okay, so as you can see, that is a darker color than all the rest of the flowers. And once again, I'm just going over the ends here with that darker color in a heavier hand. I may need to sharpen this pencil. And then I'm just going in through the center with a lighter hand. And again, through here with a heavier hand. Now, the way that I maintain a good point on my pencils is I'm constantly turning my pencil. If I feel that the color isn't laying down the right way, I'll turn the pencil so that I have a bit of a point. Because sometimes, especially when you're shading, you can dull down just one edge of your pencil. And the way I avoid that is just by turning it as I'm coloring so that it maintains that constant tip. It's not always extremely sharp, but it does maintain that pointed tip. And I do this with most pencils, unless I'm concentrating on a really large area and I'm just shading that area. And then I have a tendency to wear down the tip really fast on one side because I'm just shading. And like I said, you know, you can do pretty much anything that you want to do at this point. You know, if you want these flowers to glow in the dark, you can do that, you know. But you just got to remember, if you make these flowers glow in the dark, they're a light source. So then you have to work your light sources. So it could be ambient light where it only glows just a little tiny bit around the flower, and that's ambient light. Or it could be a main light source such as this lantern where it has a base light source and then the ambient light source that comes and grows outwards. So it's lighter and lighter and lighter the further you move away from the light source. So if it's a really, really light, like very dull light that's coming off of the flowers, or a little bit of luminescence that's coming off of them, you know, such as moon luminescence or, you know, that sort of thing, you can of course do that in a very gentle way of extending that color out a bit. So I've got all the purple color on there. Now I'm just going to go through and I'm going to darken up those really, really dark areas that I want really dark. And I'm using a bit of a heavier hand here. And there are some flowers that the way that they grow and the colors that they grow in, they do glow in the dark, so it is possible. So I'm just going over and making sure that everything is blended all the way to the end. Now I'm not going to be able to cover all the white tooth, but as long as I can cover most of it, that's good for me. And then this one here. And the great thing, if you do go fairly light-handed and build that color up, sometimes it makes it easier to erase mistakes or things that you don't like. Sometimes when you go heavy-handed or get too much color on and then change your mind, because I do that all the time, you may find that erasing that is difficult. Sorry, I just had to make sure I was using the right color of pencil. And then we'll take this one, because it looks very different than this one, so I may have used the wrong color of pencil. Which is fine, I'll fix it later. I have too many pencils in my hand. I should be using, oh, that's the right one. I might have used the azalea pink by accident instead of this one. On that one. On one petal. it's a flower. Not every petal is the same. Now I want everyone to always remember while they're coloring, it doesn't matter how good you think you are, or how bad you think you are, I guess I should say. What lack of skills you think you have. Sometimes it's just common sense. Sometimes it's just looking at a picture and remembering the story, putting a story with it. So if you put a story with it, it helps you see how to color it sometimes. Like, for example, my story with this little bee is he's collecting pollen and is coming home from work. So it's nighttime. He's on his way home from work. The house is all lit up and ready to go. Bring in the groceries for the kiddos. It doesn't have to be a big heavy story. It just has to be it doesn't even have to be. You just have to look at it and give it some personality. And give it your personality. Give it your story. You don't have to color it exactly the way I am. Absolutely. Would I be flattered if you did? Absolutely. Because, personally to me, my coloring ain't all that great. And if you're copying mine, then maybe it's better than I thought it was. I think I just went a little bit too heavy-handed on this one with that pink. So or maybe I just blended it with the white too much. I don't know. Let's just blend it a bit and see if we can knock some of that color out of it. Yeah, that's a little better, I think. So as you can see, this one here has absolutely no yellow, so there's no light hitting it whatsoever. And as I said before, if there was a moon or something else external other than this one little light source here, I would definitely be adding a bit of a light here and on the outer edges for wherever you've put that moon light and starlight coming in. I'm not going to actually color the outside of the circle here, so I'm just going to color inside the circle and the back side of this area here. So all right, so there's our big flower done in the back as well. So you can see the difference between this flower and how dark it is, and this flower and how light it is. Same with this flower, because these flowers here have more contact with that ambient lighting, where this one here, which is behind everything, isn't going to have that lighting. I'm going to zoom you out so you can see what I'm talking about here. So because our lighting is in this area here, these flowers here are all going to be touched by that light. Because the light doesn't flow too far this way, these aren't going to be touched with that light as much. Well, these ones here, this and this, aren't going to be touched with it at all. Neither is this one. This one here might be touched with it a little bit from the window because it's in front of the window. And these, of course, will be touched with a bit of the ambient lighting from this. The further away we're going to get, the lighter that edge is going to get. So as you can see here, it's a brighter yellow than it is back here. So as we color these flowers and we watch where that light source is. And remember that it's not a bright yellow light everywhere. It's only a bright yellow light in this small circle, and then it's a lighter yellow light all the way around here. So the area that's going to be affected with the brighter light is going to be closer to the lantern. If that, hopefully that makes sense to everybody. But I will continue coloring this, and I will work on it tomorrow during Work in Progress Wednesday, so that when we come back, we're concentrating on the bee so that we can do his wings and the coloring of the bee, as well as do the lighting in the background, so that you have a better understanding of what I mean by the bright light into the lighter light. I think you know all have a good idea of what that means. And then we will be finished with lighting, I promise. So we have maybe one more class on lighting, and then we will move on to a different class in the not next week, but the week after. Okay, so I hope that you all enjoyed this. I hope it was helpful. I thank you very much for joining me, and of course, like, comment, and subscribe. I do appreciate it. If you're not a subscriber to the channel, hit the subscribe button and ring the bell. I do put out a video every day. I do go live on Wednesdays and Saturdays. Wednesdays at 3:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and Saturdays at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. On Wednesdays, it's a work in progress Wednesday, so I color whatever I'm working on during the week. And on Saturday, it is a color and chat, but this week and currently we have a color along going on with Divisa from DJ's Colorful Escape. So if you want to join us for that, please watch the previous Saturday videos. They do help out with the color choices and that sort of thing. Other than that, guys, I hope that you have a wonderful day. Always remember to relax, color, and stay safe. I hope you enjoyed the video. Bye-bye for now.